Well, we are going to talk about an experience that we just had in Vegas about a week and a half ago that we are very thankful for. That's really what the episode is about. People knowing us for a cleaning business. And we got flued out or asked to come to Vegas to speak with Jobber. Can you explain what Jobber is for some people that may be like, what is that?
Yeah, so we were invited to speak on their podcast called Masters of
Home Services.
Got a hat back here. And Jobber essentially is a customer relationship management system, one of the largest platforms in the local service business space.
One, for them to even consider us was also inside, like, you know, what made you think about us? Obviously, there's other cleaning business people out there. Obviously, there's other people in the local service business. And I think this was their third season that they're recording for, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that feeling, it felt good to be recognized because technically, you know, we hear sometimes, not all the time, from students of progress that they've made from the course that we put out. But it feels like they are
These are people who are masters at their craft, masters at the very highest level, whether it be any local service business. So it was truly humbling to be considered for a platform where they're only talking to the top of the top masters. Now, I'm not saying we're the best or the only, but to be even mentioned in the same room as other people, which is absolutely amazing. So that would be number one. Number two, there are talented people in this world, and everyone has the ability to do what they're good at. And I say so many pieces had to come together to make that experience happen.
While we were there, we met other people. We met someone in the window washing industry in like the tri-state area of New York, New Jersey. We met someone that had a lawn. Roofing. So it really was interesting because we always say this business model can work in any business, any service-based business. And so we just went out for fellowship, tacos, and just had conversations around what are you doing in your business? And, oh, wow, didn't think about that. And what am I doing in my business? And that part of it is truly, because when we speak, you know, factually, we've had coaches, mindset coaches, you know, we've had people that coach us on the coaching side of it. But really, when it comes to the business specific side of a local service business, we haven't really had people that we've had consistently. So this also feels like it just opens that door to have those conversations with people about what we're actually doing in this side of the business. Because, you know, we have multiple business in this side of the business. When it comes to our cleaning business specifically, it opens those doors for us, which then can open those doors for our students, for the knowledge that we get and we decide to pass on as well. And so number three, timing, and we say only God. Like, God really planned this. The event was not going to happen if this did not happen, if they didn't ask us to come out on the specific week.
Because the eclipse made this happen.
The eclipse made this happen. Jobber made this happen simply because, if you don't know, we're from New York, but we live in Dallas. We don't have any family here with us. And so now we don't have our full-time nanny. We use babysitters, which means we're not comfortable with our daughter staying with them overnight, even if they can do that, but not at this time. She's in school. We wouldn't be able to bring her, not because of school, because when we were recording the podcast, who's going to be watching her? That was the biggest thing. Like, what is she going to be doing? So it was a matter of figuring out if we had anyone that could come down to stay with her while we went to Vegas to do this recording. And one of my friends wasn't able to do it, work reasons. And so we're like, we about to have to tell them no. First opportunity where things are getting paid, we're like, oh, we're about to have to tell them no. And then realized that my godmother and her sons were coming down for the solar eclipse. So we were like really in passing of each other. We were in Vegas Sunday to Tuesday. She was in town Sunday to Tuesday. Yeah. Between working her schedule of the plan she had with solar eclipse, and the babysitters getting involved, helping to pick her up from school. That's what made this possible. And once again, we said only God made this happen on this week. Because if it was any other week, the answer would have been no. We can't make it.
Absolutely.
Basically, or we could make it, but somebody got to watch the child outside of the studio, and she's gonna cry.
I mean, maybe that would have worked because it would have been an hour or so, and we would. I mean, looking back, it probably could have worked. Just hang out
because there's no sound, you can't hear it.
Can't hear the sound. Looking back, it might have worked. We could have probably pulled it up. But
okay.
Luckily for us, the solar eclipse happened, and with the family coming down, we were able to make it happen. But also, there was one gem about the solar eclipse that I didn't even think about. This actually happened in church the other day. when they were talking about everyone was focused on this solar eclipse, right? They were planning for it, like your family came down, they were prepared for it. And some people were like, you know what happened is it happens. They were talking about the different perspectives of that event happening. There were people who planned the entire year around being in the right place, which was Dallas,
for years,
Texas,
because they knew from 6-7 years ago where it was going to be.
Right time, the location. Your aunt literally flew down to be in Dallas, which is going to be the epicenter of it in the U.S., I guess, right? And for us, it was like we didn't really care. We flew out.
When she mentioned it to me, I'm like, what? I never heard of this. Is this? She's like, what? Where are you living?
I didn't know that people planned and they traveled and they made things like that, and the traffic in Dallas was crazy. But we actually flew out, and when the eclipse happened, it didn't happen in Vegas.
It didn't happen in Vegas, so we had no idea.
We didn't know the time. We didn't know when it happened. We didn't get to experience it. But
we saw pictures.
We were talking like you can't really experience what was here, and that's the problem. We were talking about the perspective of just being a passerby in life. There were people who planned for that event, who showed up for the event to make sure they were in the right place, right time for an event that happens once in a lifetime or once every whatever the years are. And there were people who were in the same place, same time that didn't even notice it happening. So how can we slow down to ensure that we are taking in the sights that are around us, right? So that was another gem about the eclipse. So God made the eclipse happen. He also made it happen for us to get on that podcast.
Made it happen for us, because if not, baby. But yes, thank you, God, as usual. The fourth thing that we had when it came to this experience is keep sharing your story. We were found just by sharing our story on social media for the last 7 years. So yes, I know in this day and age, it may not take you 7 years, especially with TikTok. People go viral all the time, but sometimes they can't remain consistent with it. But we've been sharing for the past 7 years. And so we asked them, how did you find us? And she said, well, we were looking, because there was another cleaning business owner there. We didn't get to connect with her, though. But she was like, we were looking for another cleaning business owner. She was like, you guys weren't hard to find. I searched on you, put you guys on YouTube, and I found you guys right away. And we're like, oh, okay, cool. Because we've been doing this podcast for over 2 years, but it's not like we have tons of accolades on the podcast. And it's always, thankful that someone is listening.
It's not an award-winning podcast.
Right. It's not an award-winning podcast.
Not yet. Put that in the atmosphere. Not yet.
But we know that you guys subscribe. We know that you guys write reviews. And those are ways that we know that someone is listening, or based on the downloads and things like that. But for them to find us in that way, it kind of is like, just keep putting it out there. It don't got to be perfect. If you see our first YouTube videos from when we started to now, and then when we look back in a year or two, so on and so forth, it don't got to be perfect, but the information is just the same that we're saying, regardless of how it looks. So shout out to them for finding us, and shout out to us for being consistent for 7 years on social media.
Yeah, keep sharing your story, people. It's funny because I just recently posted a video, one of our first YouTube videos on a podcast, and it was about us paying off our debt, because you realize there are people out there who don't even know where you started at.
Yeah.
And I always say, find out more about the person, where they started, versus trying to find out where they are today. Where did they start before you followed them? What were they doing before you followed them? What were they doing before you bought something from them? Find out more about the person, the individual, the family, the coach, whatever it is. Find out what they were doing before you decided to work with them, so that you can see more of a well-rounded view of them. So I posted that video, and that was one of our highest viewed videos recently. I was like, oh, this video was on the iPhone.
Looking down.
And if you guys are on YouTube, we got a 3-camera setup here right now. And we didn't have a 3-camber setup. We had an iPhone.
Have a 1-camera setup.
We had an iPhone sitting in front of us, and we're recording a video. And I really recently posted that video because my friend Andre was like, yo, post your old stuff. Like, you never know who's going to find it. So remaining consistent, but then also keep sharing your story is super important, guys, so that you never know where it may take you. There is someone out there that's looking to find out more about something that you know, something that you've gone through, something that you've accomplished, something that you've learned, but you don't know until you get there. So stop being selfish with the information that you have and start sharing.
Yeah, I agree. Just keep sharing your story. And the last thing we had here was just, it's really mind-blowing of the little idea that we had of the cleaning business, what it's allowed us to do and where it's brought us today, right? We would have never considered that when we started this back in 2017, about 6.5, 7 years ago, that we would be on any platform, first of all, let alone a platform like Jobber, but any platform speaking about the cleaning business, that we would be anywhere teaching people how to do this and changing their life and generational wealth, or that we would have rental properties because of this, so on and so forth, that we'll be traveling the world because of it. So that little idea, get started on it and do it as you grow, right? A lot of times we want it to be perfect before we get started and things like that. Yes, there may be some things, some foundation you want to have or need to have in place, but make the mistakes. That's part of the process, right? That's part of you growing. That's part of the business growing. That's part of you learning. And that's what helped to bring us here today. Something to have you keep looking at me.
No, I was listening to you.
Oh, okay.
Get started, get fancy later. Don't try to figure it out all. And that's me just putting my own advice out there too, because I think at this stage it was a lot easier to get started when we was earlier, because it's like nobody's looking. And then you get some people looking, and then you start holding back more because you want things to be perfect, and it kind of slows you down. But I would rather us do something, take the action, figure it out along the way, and then if it doesn't work, hey, you go back, you make adjustments, and you learn as you grow. Some people call it building the parachute while you jump out the plane. Now, I'm not
okay. Let's not take that.
If the plane realistically, listen, don't take that.
I ain't doing that part now.
Don't take it literally, but that's what they call it, building a parachute. As you jump out the plane, so that you're gonna move faster. You're gonna react faster. You're gonna make adjustments faster when you're out the plane and you're trying to figure it out, versus when you just sit on the plane and you got all the time to build a parachute. How you gonna know if it works or not until you jump out?
Let's change this analogy. But we do just want to thank Jobber for the opportunity. And when those podcasts come out, we'll be sure to tag it. We'll probably put it on our platforms ourselves. And to any other company that is listening, I think we are great candidates to speak on the cleaning business and anything else, really. We have a lot that we speak about, not just the cleaning business.
One episode was mainly about the cleaning business, and the other was about building generational wealth for your family. Some things we're doing for Alani, and then our second kid on the way. So one was about the cleaning and one wasn't. We talked about marriage, talked about relationship, talked about all of that stuff. So make sure you guys check out our podcast. If you are new here, we thank you. If you provided any value, leave us a 5-star review. Subscribe to the page. Share it one person.
Write a review. We like those.
Comment below what was one of your takeaways. If you got any inspiration, we appreciate y'all being here, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Peace.